Okay, so in our last episode, we pointed out a statistic, courtesy of Token Terminal, that highlighted a lack of core development for the Hedera network. As you can see here, we observed that there is a significant drop off, or at least it appeared to be, in core development for the Hedera network. And I used this data point to support a thesis that stated there is a lack of direction and leadership for the Hedera network. This is an observation I came to as an investor, as an avid supporter of Hedera for a very long time. I have researched Hedera's documentation at length for a number of years. I've also used Token Terminal going on about a year and a half now, and it's also located in the educational materials that I give to everyone who watches and listens to this program. So, a couple days after this episode airs, and then shortly after the segment itself was published, one of the developers for Hedera reached out to me. His brother by the name of Jay Cool, at least on X, that is his name. And he reminded me of Hyro. Now, Hyro, this was an initiative that took place late last year in September. You may not have heard too much about it. We did report on it, but the details were somewhat scarce at the time. So, on a broad scale, not a lot of Hedera investors knew about this. So, forgive me for letting it slip in this particular context. I'll also admit to, a couple weeks ago, your boy was exhausted. Okay. Hey, a lot of things were going on. Okay. Good things, though. Energy was going to great places, but I was a bit exhausted. But Jay reminded me of Hyro. And if you don't know, Hyro is the open source DLT code base now used to build the Hedera network. It is supported by the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust, which we did report on their transformation. They used to be known as the Hyperledger Foundation. So, overall, when the Linux Foundation adopted the Hedera code base, now known as Hyro, that changed the developer base. Okay, I get that. Lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, a couple days pass, and Hedera is all of a sudden second amongst 535 chains that Token Terminal tracks for core development. This particular screenshot came from last evening, where I discovered that Hedera is no longer number 2. It has dropped down to number 5, and the 168 core developers that they were recording, it has now dropped down to 105. Now, I'm not going to get into semantics here, because if I made an error, I'll own up to it. But my question is this, simply. Had I not made the segment, raised the fuss about the data point that I saw, would the information had been updated in the first place? That's as far as I'm going to take it. And I feel my main thesis still stands. So, with that out the way, guys, let's start the show. Welcome to another edition of the DHN Crypto Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Wade Teamer. I've been in the space since 2019, and I've researched a boatload of assets. But the number one reason I sit here in front of this camera at this desk next to this eloquent microphone is to share all that knowledge with you. All I'm asking in return, if you find value, hit that subscribe button. And in return, I got a few tokens of appreciation for you. Let's hop back into the terminal so we can take a look, guys. Starting with the DHN Starter Kit. This will be your dossier to the world of blockchain. As you can see here, it will equip you with tips and tricks, resources, information to help you navigate this digital world. Now, it pairs well with Blockmaster. This will teach you the fundamentals of blockchain technology. It does not make sense to put your hard-earned money into something and you don't have a full understanding of it. So I compiled everything I have learned to this point about this industry into 28 pages, and I'm giving it to you. And it pairs well with DHN 100, the top 100 utility-driven blockchain networks. These are simply short profilings of 100 networks in this space that have exhibited continuous utility. It's a bit more advanced. If you're a beginner, you may not be familiar with some of the assets that you do see, but it is a great document to bring up when you want to have that utility discussion at the dinner table. So, with that, guys, links to all of these products will be in the pinned comment as well as the description under this video. But let's get into the show, guys. We got to start with a little bit of macro news. This headline came across my radar. Federal Housing Finance Agency. They're looking to count crypto as collateral. As a matter of fact, to my understanding, this has already been signed off by the FHFA. What this is simply going to entail is if you've been holding a stack of crypto, let's say for a number of years, and it has gotten to a substantial amount, well, alongside your other assets, you can now count that and leverage it in order to get a loan for a mortgage. Now, I know a lot of you guys are in the same age group as I am. Okay, YouTube gives us this data. That means that there are a lot of millennials that watch this program. So you're going to feel me when I say this next part here. We are in the generation where it's very hard to buy a home. That's our generation. I still don't fully understand why it's so much more difficult for our generation as opposed to our parents. But nevertheless, I am still in the position where I am trying to accomplish this goal. And now to see that we can leverage our new money, our new digital assets to land an even bigger asset that's got real world value. So when I saw this headline, I definitely had to dig deeper into it. The details are pretty straightforward. There will be no liquidation required. That's the kicker there. This means you don't have to liquidate your holdings. You can simply show them what you have on your balance. And then lenders will also factor in historical performance. This is a given because it also mentions that only assets listed on regulated US crypto exchanges, such as your Coinbases, your Upholds, Krakens, Gemini, Robinhood, and Binance.us, assets listed on those exchanges will be the only ones that lenders will use as verification, as verification for your assets. So that is going to drive a lot more traffic towards these exchanges, which will then bring in more money into the market. That'll bring in more investors. Prices will naturally go up. That's a given. But I'm looking at the long-term ramifications of this as well. Like I led with at the top of this segment, us millennials, it is apparently a lot more difficult for us to buy a home. But now that we have this new money and the government is allowing us to leverage this new money in order to achieve the dream of buying a home, from a long-term perspective, what I can see is more people getting into the market and staying into the market in an effort to accumulate a large enough bag, because they may not necessarily have the other assets that you would traditionally go to a lender with. They may not have a business on the side. They may not have investments in the traditional stock market, things like that. So, as I hope to see this expand, because as non-crypto investors begin to see more traditional investment vehicles in crypto, that's going to bring them in. And at that point, it won't just be about the utility of an asset. It won't just be about the apps or the use case. That's where I believe Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to have staying power. That's how they will have staying power, because they have the liquidity and the user base to come up with the financial tools that the traditional investors are more familiar with. This is all the things that came to me when I read that headline there, right? And to the point of the criteria that mortgage lenders may use when determining whether or not to quantify your assets, right? Top U.S. mortgage lenders: Wells Fargo, Rocket Mortgage, Chase, PNC Bank, CBER or CBRE was another one as well that I saw on the list, moving lots of money around. Like I said, top lenders here in the United States. But what I imagine is them establishing some sort of criteria now. And I can guarantee you that that criteria will be based on long term performance of an asset. And yeah, most likely price performance of an asset. So that definitely changes the paradigm. It changes the game because now, knowing this, investors that are coming into the market with the intention of leveraging this particular play, they're only going to get into certain assets. They're only going to get into assets that have shown a history of sustained price action. We've seen it hundreds of times. Assets that hit the market, they get an all-time high, then they crash, and they never get anywhere close to their all-time high for the next 5 to 6 years. And then all of a sudden, you just don't hear from them anymore. Right? Conversely, there are assets who have been on this market, going on 10 years now, some almost as old as Bitcoin, where when you look at their all-time price charts, you see consistent growth. Those are going to be the assets that I believe lenders will be a lot more friendlier towards when you show up to get a loan from them and you say, hey, I'm also holding these particular assets. Reputation will be everything going forward with this new rule. So at the end of the day, guys, the more sophisticated financial tools that we have in the crypto space, the better it looks for us. It's not a complete takeover. We're giving people an alternative to what they're used to. And chances are it's going to be a better alternative than what they're used to. So that was the biggest story that I saw as far as on the macro level, guys. Let's talk about a big partnership. News broke out this week. Mastercard and Chainlink enable on-chain crypto purchases using Mastercard's 3.5 billion card network. So Mastercard has been heavily embedded in the crypto space for years, going on a full decade. And this linking up with Chainlink, no pun intended, was very interesting to me. So, of course, I had to dig a little bit deeper because when you understand the depth that MasterCard has in the crypto space, and we're not just talking about partnerships here, we're talking about patented technology, initiatives, live applications, okay, that are running with their software built on their global infrastructure network. Now, I also love Chainlink for their quickness to getting information out here. We're going to go to a clip courtesy of Sergey, uploaded to Chainlink's YouTube channel, where he goes into more detail on this relationship.
In the MasterCard use case, Chainlink is kind of at the center of coordinating the critical information about the transaction across the multiple parties involved in building an on-chain transaction that has all of these information requirements, proving things about the user, proving things about the transaction. So it's basically bridging the information and the data and the transactional steps that have to happen in the off-chain world, in the MasterCard network, in Shift4 and Zero Hash. And it's bridging those steps to the on-chain steps that have to happen in Swapper and Uniswap and all these other on-chain environments. And so without that bridging, you basically have two separate worlds that aren't able to interact with each other. But if you define how all the steps in both worlds will lead to the conclusive next step, then you have a working set of transactions that can benefit from the huge distribution of the MasterCard network and its billion plus user base and card holders, with the efficiency and settlement and quality of assets on the blockchain. And this is generally what Chainlink has always been built to do. It's been built to take all of these complex pieces of data, transactional steps, identity related concerns, and simplify them into a flow that can be used on a blockchain. So what you're really trying to do when you're working on this problem is take the transactional steps on the Mastercard side and make them the trigger and the compatible critical next step in the process that triggers the on-chain event. And so that's what we've done.
Chainlink code. Chainlink code. But guys, what this sounds like is the underpinnings of a crypto exchange. It really all came together with the last bit that he said, where Chainlink has allowed Mastercard to now be the if in the if then smart contract scenario. Because that's what smart contracts are. Basic at the ground level. If this happens, then this happens. So now what Chainlink has done with Mastercard is put Mastercard on the if side of the equation. So if you have a Mastercard and you want to make a transaction, engage with blockchain, the mere fact of you having a Mastercard account makes you able to interact with the blockchain. It's almost like they're crypto credentials on steroids, where as opposed to it coming from the people side, the Mastercard side, you got blockchain participants. We all know Stellar is one of them. I do not recall if they announced any others. Doesn't matter. Stellar's the king. But Stellar is one of them. In this example, if you're on the blockchain side and you want to interact with Mastercard from the blockchain side, Mastercard has a select list of assets that have credentials. When you see these assets and you see that they have the Mastercard credential, then you know that this particular asset is compatible with any Mastercard crypto or blockchain integration. So clearly, Chainlink will also be a part of Mastercard's crypto credential. But it gets a bit deeper than this, ladies and gentlemen. Mastercard, like I said, has been here for a minute. They've been here for a grip. And this is just one of the patents that I found from 2021, originally filed in 2021. They received the grant in September of last year. Very fitting. But this is just one of them. Method and system of integrating blockchain technology with existing computer architecture. Guys, I bring this up because you go to Justia Patents, search patents assigned to Mastercard International. There were 14 pages of patents. Not all of them blockchain. But forgive me for not wanting to scroll through all 14 pages. All I needed to see was 6 or 7 patents, not pages of patents, but 6 or 7 different patents related to blockchain on one page, and I was sold. What I'm getting at here is I believe Mastercard is planning something much bigger. Much bigger. When you look at the nature of these different patents, they have patents that cover tokenization. They have patents that cover smart contracts. They have patents that cover fractionalized ownership of digital assets. They have patents that cover the exchanging of these fractionalized shares of these digital assets. If Mastercard decided to create their own crypto exchange, yeah, Coinbase would be in trouble. Coinbase would be in trouble. So I don't think they want to do that. I think Mastercard, and they see this as well, would gain much more by being the NAS to the crypto exchange engine. Simply building out services and opening up their infrastructure to a Coinbase, a Robinhood, Uphold, etc., etc. And it appears that the number one way that they're able to do that is through integrating these public blockchain networks like a Stellar, like Chainlink that we see now, and various others. Again, look into these patents, guys. That's why I cut the screenshot the way that I did so you can see the name of the website. Look at these patents, and I'm pretty sure you'll come to the same conclusion that I did. Mastercard is getting ready to do something very big. And now Chainlink just gave them the key to the entire blockchain world, the whole world. Now, to that point, the date of 2021, I found this article too, courtesy of CCN. Mastercard wins a patent to link cryptocurrency with fiat accounts. With Mastercard's latest patent, we're getting closer to using our cryptocurrency credit cards to purchase goods. According to the filing, the method addresses the storing of both fiat and cryptocurrencies under one profile. This means as a user, you'd have two linked accounts with your bank, one for your fiat wealth and one for crypto. Mind you, this was written in 2021. We have come a long way since 2021. Their plan, Mastercard's master plan, is to have fiat and crypto seamlessly interchangeable. Boy, you can't beat that. Because when you really take it all in, since 2021, just since 2021, the amount of activity that we have gotten from Mastercard and Visa should convince you that this space ain't going nowhere. Two of the largest payment processors in the world, and I'm going as far as saying in world history, have attached themselves, fully embedded themselves into this new blockchain technology. So if Visa and Mastercard are doing it, I think we in the right place, folks. Because Visa and Mastercard is accepted everywhere. And the rate that they're going to make sure that blockchain is accepted everywhere too. So this is massive, ladies and gentlemen. With that, we're going to take a little break here. Coming up, we're going to talk about an asset we ain't spoke on in a number of months. Talking about the internet computer. Ladies and gentlemen, they have done something that has blown my mind. You may have heard about it, but have you ever heard of a self-writing internet? Yeah, make sure y'all come on back. Hey guys, I got a quick message for you. Let's say you're looking to buy some crypto, like the ones mentioned in this video. Consider using our crypto exchange partner, Uphold. With Uphold, you get access to more than 200 crypto assets through its simple-to-use trading platform. Uphold has been around more than a decade, so it is a name you can trust. With over $2 billion in reserves and $44 billion in trading volume, I've yet to lose a trade on Uphold. To the more experienced investor out there, Uphold also has a line of precious metals and national currencies for more diversification. For me, I'm having fun using Uphold's baskets tool. Uphold lets us set aside a certain amount of money to invest in different sectors of crypto. With one click, you can diversify into the big three, meme coins, or the financial assets like Hedera, Stellar, and XDC. But listen, crypto assets are very volatile, and it is always best to manage your risk and do your own research before using any platform. I recommend Uphold because before I was an affiliate, I was and still am a user. So if you use the link below, it helps support the channel. I want to thank you in advance. Welcome back to the show, guys. One of you reached out on X last couple of days last week and was dropping ICP down in the chat. Hey, check out ICP. I don't hear you covering ICP. Why don't you talk about ICP? Well, I've covered ICP in the past. As a matter of fact, before everyone else jumped on the bandwagon, after everyone jumped off, after the ICO crash, that's when I really dove into the inner workings of the internet computer, courtesy of Dfinity. What brought me into the ICP spectrum was Dfinity's first marketing campaign. To be such a small project, 2020, 2021, their marketing was top notch. So it always stayed in the radar. But what initially pulled me, well, after that, not initially, what pulled me in next from the technology side was their ability to introduce smart contracts to Bitcoin. I heard about this early 2022, and at that time, only 3 years into the space, that was unheard of. No one else was bringing utility to Bitcoin in this manner. So again, the proper marketing, the utility aspect, ICP always stayed on my radar. But since you have dropped that back in the chat, and I've gone and taken a second look, third, fourth, I forgot how many times now, but taking another look at the ICP network, I like the updates. Starting with Chain Fusion, they have just introduced Solana. But this Chain Fusion appears to be the ultimate, the final form of their initial work towards bringing smart contracts to Bitcoin. I can simplify ICP's technical makeup like this. They have developed a way to compartmentalize smart contracts into these capsules or canisters. All right, digital canisters. These digital canisters are interoperable. Various networks can use them. And Chain Fusion is essentially the production factory for these canisters. Again, these canisters got smart contracts, APIs, fully customizable, all of these things. So now what they're doing with the Chain Fusion, they're bringing smart contracts, cross-chain smart contracts to not just Bitcoin now, but it's been extended to Ethereum. And most recently, Solana has joined the fold. And this month, it officially went live. So this is definitely an interoperability play. If you want to get into internet computer, you're definitely getting into the infrastructure game because that's what ICP does. It supports other networks. They focus on other things, but their key discipline is building out interoperable smart contracts, which is truly genius when you think about it. I'll give you a comparison. The Flare network creates smart contracts for chains who can't do it themselves. ICP is taking the smart contract itself and making it universal. So if you were to compare the two, where Flare is feeding fish, ICP is giving fishing rods. All the more reason why it's never left my radar. But I teased this segment by bringing up something called the self-writing internet. Oh my goodness, the nerd in me did a backflip when I heard this man describe this. Okay, so first of all, let me also add this too. Something else that I like a lot about ICP. ICP didn't necessarily start out as a US-based blockchain company, but now they have developed an entire outfit here in the United States, and that is going to help them. Mark my words, that is going to help them. I am still on that notion that now, under this administration, US-based blockchain companies are going to lead this market. And it also includes the companies that now set up bases of operations here that have already gained influence over US investors. ICP was one of them. So the US influence, a huge plus. Outside of that, they've been doing a number of conferences. They had one recently where they announced Caffeine AI. This will be the protocol that people will interact with when they want to make use of this self-writing internet concept. And I haven't even hit you with the punchline for what it is. I'm just going to let the man himself take care of it.
Vision for users. The self-writing internet vision is that you can...
By the way, let me introduce this gentleman here because a lot of you may not know. This is Dominic Williams, as it says there. He created
the
ICP.
Self-writing internet vision is that you can talk to the internet to create new functionality in the form of apps and services that appear on a URL. Nearly everyone in their personal lives at some point or another is going to be creating sovereign apps on platforms like the internet computer. And then they're going to do it just by talking to AI. Self-writing is a different paradigm to vibe coding. The AI is helping write some of your boilerplate code, helping you fix typos and a few bugs. But really, vibe coding is a paradigm for software engineers. Self-writing is a different paradigm where anybody can create without having any technical skills at all. Quite literally, talk to the AI and your functionality appears on the internet, which is obviously completely revolutionary. Internet Computer 2.0 incorporates functionality that makes self-writing possible. We have a new programming language designed for use by AI that enables it to create far more sophisticated apps and services without assistance than would otherwise be possible. You will often be upgrading your apps and services every few minutes, even on a cycle in the tens of seconds. You'll literally be saying, hey, I want this feature, and you'll see it appear on the URL.
So what he's getting at here is with self-writing internet, anyone will be able to develop apps, decentralized applications, on an internet computer. Anyone. So, Dominic, you're telling me that this kid here from the east side of Detroit will soon be able to develop his own blockchain application on internet computer? That's going to change the game, folks. And a recurring theme in this episode has been the importance of core development. Here are the numbers for revenue, courtesy of Token Terminal. Now, why do I bring that up in relation to core development? Because clearly there is a connection between the amount of core developers and the rate of adoption for these digital assets. And thank God for Token Terminal for beginning to condense this information for us, because it's truly changing my investing perspective. It really is, especially numbers like this. Let's take a look. We're looking at internet computers revenue for the last year. They've made $14 million. Explains why that set was so nice behind him. $14 million in the last year. And when you look at revenue for layer 1 blockchains, they rank 5th across the entire industry. 5th. Which you'll also notice when we pull up the developer activity, if I'm not mistaken, ICP is in the top 10 as well. So that's evidence of the correlation here. The point I'm trying to make is, if Dominic is now allowing all of us to become builders, all of us to become developers, will that count as core development? And if so, then very soon Token Terminal will have to update once again to show that the number one blockchain by core development, the number one project by core development, is no longer Ethereum, it's Internet Computer. And the number will probably be in the 500, 600, 700 million. A lot of people is what he's getting at. I mean, a lot of people with the ability to develop here. This conversation on core development led me to a lot of information on the state of development in the blockchain space. I'll touch more about that in the next segment. But I bring it up here because if this is the revenue being generated on their core developers, and now ICP is getting ready to open that up to the entire world in a chat GPT type revolution, imagine what this revenue is going to look like. Because I can also assume here that when these apps get built, they're going to be driving revenue, and they're going to drive revenue back to Internet Computer. $3.2 billion for Tron, almost 800 million for Ethereum. What will it take for Internet Computer to catch that? I think it'll be very easy if your developer base is 300 to 400 people strong at minimum. So yeah, I'm definitely keeping my eyes on the Internet Computer, guys. But another thing I'll be keeping my eyes on are data points like this, courtesy of Token Terminal, because I believe now that revenue driving applications are no longer a feature, but a standard. And speculative price pumps won't last in this next era of blockchain. All the more reason why it's good to see data like this. So let's jump forward and move on to this topic of core development, guys. I got here top 10 projects by core developers over the last 365 days. And you can see top 10 goes like this: Ethereum, MetaMask, Chainlink, Internet Computer, Hedera, Cardano, OP, Sui, Walrus, and Kusama. So that's the top 10 there. Now, the question that I'm posing is this: is core development the most important metric in the crypto space? Because when you think about it, without core developers, nothing really gets done. So it would make sense that the networks with the strongest levels of core development would be able to kick out, deploy applications at a much faster rate, which lends to the rate of adoption. Rate of adoption obviously correlates to the rate of price action, whether up or down. Slow adoption rate, slow price performance. Fast adoption rate, you got Solana. All right. All of those things, though, start at the core. So I love Token Terminal for piecing this together. And I promise you guys, I'm not partnered with Token Terminal at all. But if y'all do want to link with me, all right, I like what y'all doing, shoot me an email. But I didn't want to make it seem like I was promoting them. I have not seen this data being recorded anywhere else. That is why I'm trying to get as many people as I can exposed to this platform. It's also in the DHN starter kit to that exact point. But when you really take a look at this list, guys, and you dig deep, it really raises a few questions, particularly for MetaMask. Because MetaMask is the ultimate Web3 gateway. It was Web3 before Web3 was Web3. And you can take a look just at the few connections. These are just the snaps, okay? MetaMask created another integration, another piece of software that allowed even more networks to plug into the MetaMask architecture. So when I saw them jump to the top of this leaderboard, and this was shortly after the whole Hedera thing, right? I said, they're getting ready to do something. I have heard numerous rumors about MetaMask getting ready to drop a coin, their own signature hardware wallet. The company itself may be getting ready to go public. MetaMask is an OG. It's an offshoot from Ethereum, not in build, but in the people that put it together. I believe they originally worked under Ethereum, and MetaMask was originally intended to be an extension of Ethereum. It was supposed to be the wallet for any Ethereum-based application. That is why any Ethereum dApp that you interact with, you need MetaMask. But since then, MetaMask has, of course, broadened its reach and now incorporates a lot of Ethereum competitors and other layer 2s. So this number makes sense to me. And it could also be an indicator of what's around the corner. Because when you look further down the list, you got Chainlink, which we know what they have been up to with the likes of Visa, Mastercard, banks in Australia, things of that nature, Swift. So they should be up here. Internet Computer, much the same story. That's an interoperability play, an infrastructure play. So when you're dealing with Internet Computer, a lot of the applications don't just live on ICP. They're connected to other networks like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and now Solana. So that makes sense. The Hedera number, I'm not trying to rag on Hedera, but it was 168 last week. What is going on? Developer retention. I think that's another important conversation that needs to be discussed, because in the process of digging through this, right, Okay. Oh, this is, yeah, let me share this quote really quickly. I was going to lead us into a report on developer activity that I discovered, but this is great. I win this bet. This is Dominic Williams, creator of ICP. He posted out back in February about the self-writing internet. He says, I win this bet or eat my hat. The self-writing internet will enable anyone to use AI to build, update fully on-chain sovereign apps on the internet computer. And by the end of 2025, most crypto developers will be ICP developers. Okay, again, back to the point I made a few moments ago. If that's the case, these numbers are about to get very, very interesting, right? Well, let's jump forward here. This is the report that I was talking about. Electric Capital published this in December of 2024. And as you can see, it accounts for a lot of years of data going back to about 2016 here, 2015. I'll leave a link to the report in the show notes. But I want to bring your attention to this chart here and really take a good look at this chart, guys. Because what you'll see is there's a spike in developer activity during a bull cycle and a dramatic drop off in a bear. The concerning thing is that when you get to the far right of this chart, 2024, we've experienced quite the significant price rally, but the developer activity hasn't. So this either shows us that it's harder to bring developers into the blockchain space, or traditional developers are not as interested in the blockchain space. This also could indicate a consolidation of developer activity in the blockchain space down to just a select number of chains. And as you can tell by the headline, Solana in 2024 was the king for bringing in new developers. At one point, it even surpassed, as you can see here in July, became the first ecosystem to onboard more developers than Ethereum since 2016. So clearly, core development is crucially important, guys. And a lot of people give Solana flack for their immense rise to the top. Well, when you take a look at this data, does the amount of core development contribute to that rise? How can we blame the people at Solana for building an environment that caters to developers that would encourage them to build? You can't get mad at that. But I bring this chart up just to emphasize the importance of you should know who's developing on the network that you hold. And if it's hard to find that data, or that data is inconsistent across multiple platforms, like in the case of the Hedera network, then it should raise a red flag. Shouldn't rule out anything, because we are still so early that a lot of these data points, they're not fully established. There needs to be more token terminals. There needs to be more electric capitals. There needs to be more DeFi llamas. There needs to be more Masaris in order for us to get a full view, a full understanding of the activity that goes on behind the scenes, that goes on chain. So coming up, guys, talking Stellar Lumens. All right. No real big news. Just felt like hyping up Stellar Lumens one time. So if you're interested in that, go and stick around. I'm gonna run this ad real quick. When we get right back, though, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the Stellar and PayPal arrangement, kind of get an idea of what to expect.
Hey guys, I got a quick message for you. Let's say you're looking to buy some crypto, like the ones mentioned in this video. Consider using our crypto exchange partner, Uphold. With Uphold, you get access to more than 200 crypto assets through its simple-to-use trading platform. Uphold has been around more than a decade, so it is a name you can trust. With over $2 billion in reserves and $44 billion in trading volume, I've yet to lose a trade on Uphold. To the more experienced investor out there, Uphold also has a line of precious metals, and national currencies for more diversification. For me, I'm having fun using Uphold's baskets tool. Uphold lets us set aside a certain amount of money to invest in different sectors of crypto. With one click, you can diversify into the big three, meme coins, or the financial assets like Hedera, Stellar, and XDC. But listen, crypto assets are very volatile, and it is always best to manage your risk and do your own research before using any platform. I recommend Uphold because before I was an affiliate, I was and still am a user. So if you use the link below, it helps support the channel. I want to thank you in advance.
PayPal USD is making its way to the Stellar network, and I truly believe that the majority of the crypto world, the crypto sphere, they sleeping. They sleeping on this. And once PayPal USD goes live on Stellar, and PayPal USD is connected in over 128 countries around the world, tapped in with over 5,000 on and off ramps to Stellar. Yeah, they're going to have to wake up at that point. They're going to have to wake up at that point. I was digging a little bit deeper into PayPal's infrastructure, guys. And alongside of the PayPal USD, which we know is issued by Paxos, PayPal and Stripe have a very interesting relationship as well. And we all know Stripe just picked up Bridge. Bridge plugs in Stellar APIs into its software. So not only does this pop off on a consumer retail level, but for business owners as well. There is a lot of discussion now, especially with the Genius Act and other digital asset forward bills that bring up the discussion of stablecoins here in the United States. With all of that discussion, you got big retailers like Walmart, Amazon, Kroger. Yeah, nobody's mentioning that. Kroger getting involved too. And if Kroger's coming, I wouldn't be surprised to see other grocery store chains next, like Myers, maybe a Sam's Club, maybe a Costco's, BJ's Wholesale, places like that. Because the infrastructure is already there. Think about it this way. Walmart has a point system. You get different coins or tokens back. I've mentioned several times in previous episodes about our extensive use of Myers M-Perks. Okay. If they decided to convert those endpoints into stable coins, I probably wouldn't need to spend cash on groceries for another year. All right. Which would be mind blowing. It would completely shift the paradigm. It would turn the game upside down. It really would. And I think that also lends to why it's taking so long for this to really get up off the ground, because these companies realize that a larger portion of their customers, or in some cases, a smaller portion of their customers, are more digitally native than others. And they may fear that they will tip the scales in the wrong direction. That is why everybody is studying and studying and studying and studying. What I love the most about this PayPal and Stellar arrangement is that when the traditional company comes along, it's not a, hey, take a look at the XLM token, look at the price history, here's our community, look at our meme token. No. They're not even going to see Stellar first. They're going to see the wallet. They're going to see the wallet first. And then they're going to mess around with the wallet and they're going to go, hey, this wallet is pretty fun. It's easy to use. The interface is great. What's the software behind it? Stellar. Oh, okay. Now I see what you're getting at here. So I'm really just hyping up this Stellar and PayPal relationship, guys. There will be no new groundbreaking information in this particular segment. I just really want people to understand this is going to change the game for Stellar. Now, a couple of days ago, they did make this beautiful ad placement.
PayPal's stablecoin, PYUSD, is coming to Stellar, the blockchain built for fast, affordable payments. Together, we're expanding what's possible with digital money, from everyday purchases to global payouts. Sending money? Imagine it arriving in moments, not days. PYUSD on Stellar will make it easier to send money across borders and cash out locally, thanks to a network of on and off ramps in over 170 countries. Checking out?
It was
Imagine if every payment was that fast, low cost, and settled in seconds. With PYUSD on Stellar, that kind of seamless experience is just around the corner for shoppers and merchants. Running a business? Imagine having working capital when you need it most. PYUSD on Stellar can help small businesses unlock new financing opportunities while giving liquidity providers potential access to yield. The way we pay and get paid is changing, and PYUSD on Stellar is paving the path forward.
If the money is digital, so is the hustle, baby. I don't want to highlight a point they made in this little ad here, which I can totally see running throughout the fall sports season. Okay. They mentioned how business owners can also leverage the ability to have access to funding during off-bank hours. That can play a major role in the supply chain financing world. Also, of course, in retail, things like that. But I think it'll be supply chain finance that benefits the most from that particular arrangement. Why couldn't someone use a Stellar-based wallet transacting PayPal USD for their supply chain business? I don't see why that couldn't happen. And then when you really get into the technical side, the build of Stellar, what I also love to see is when a project or a protocol has continuous efforts or shows continuous efforts towards educating people about how their technology works. Let's get a little reminder of how the Stellar Consensus Protocol truly works.
Now, because Stellar is a federated consensus algorithm, there's actually lots of small groups that make up the network. And so in your example, say that, I trust you and you trust me, but all of a sudden you start adding these new entities that you trust. And so you, for instance, invite an attacker into your trusted group. Now, just because you trust them doesn't mean I have to, right? And so essentially what there is that the Stellar network is made up of a lot of small groups of local trust. Now, these small groups of local trust or federations are overlapping. And this overlapping trust does mean that the network is, a single network and joined. But what it means is that just because, some random entity staked Ethereum, across the world, though I've never met, I don't have to, start trusting them like I would on Ethereum. I only have to trust the people I know in my group. But because of the way the math works out via some, fancy discrete math proofs, we still have this globally connected network, even though we only have local trust groups.
That's an ingenious design. So we're all on the same network, but I have a stronger connection to Stellar wallet users in Michigan as opposed to a group in New York or Florida per se. But we're still all connected on the same network. Consensus is still met the same way. So it's those unique features to Stellar's blockchain that allow it to last as long as it has and continue to offer efficient services like their wallets, their on and off ramps, their aid assists, aid issuance, aid disbursement. They've changed the name so many times. Tokenization, stable coins. Listen, Stellar positioned itself in front of the RWA and stablecoin boom months before it happened by establishing relationships with Franklin Templeton as far back as 2019. Okay, shout out to my brother C. Will at the Passive Income Network. I watched a clip on his channel a couple weeks ago where Danielle Dixon was talking about Franklin Templeton independently in 2020 developed the Beans app on Stellar. Independently, ladies and gentlemen, Franklin Templeton went and did their own research and then contacted Stellar and said, "Hey, we like y'all little thing here. Let's keep building. Let's put some more money on top of it. Let's put some more money on top of it, right?" So to see things like that. Oh, and also the relationship with MoneyGram. MoneyGram made the decision to go from what was perceived to be the all-time payments leader, cross-border payments leader in Ripple, and join forces with Stellar. Only for a few months down the line for them to introduce so many other crypto-related services and getting involved with the stablecoin discussions, linking with Mastercard, Visa, all of these other things. I don't know how to make the case any clearer for XLM, in my humble opinion. But to bring it to a more holistic point of view, Cointelegraph posted a clip on their X that kind of blew my mind. So I guess this gentleman by the name of F.A. Hayek, back in the 80s, finance guy, spoke about an idea called denationalization of money. Basically, money with no borders. Money that can be used anywhere for anything at any time by anyone. Sounds a lot like crypto, don't it? Let's jump to the clip. I want you to hear this. And then at the end, I'm going to lay my perspective on top.
See, the great trouble is the money wasn't allowed to develop further. After 200 or 300 years of coins, all governments put their hands and stopped any further developments. They were not allowed to experiment on it. Money hasn't been improved. Money has rather become worse in the course of time. Government said it must not develop any further. And what we have had since in development were matters of government inventions, mostly wrong, mostly abuses of money. And I have come to the position of asking, has monetary policy ever done any good? I don't think it has. I think it has done only harm. And that's why I am now pleading for what I've called denationalization of money. I don't believe that we shall ever have a good money again before we take the thing out of the hands of government. And we can't take them violently out of the hands of government. All we can do is, by some sly roundabout way, introduce something they can't stop.
Insert your favorite digital asset here. In the comments under this, I saw Bitcoin, XRP, Solana solves this, Ethereum solves this, all of that. But guys, I think we're missing the true ethos here. This industry is that. All of these digital assets together are denationalizing money. Because think of it like this. Me and you can transact with each other with stablecoins no matter where you are. So if you're driving down the highway in some country that I'm pretty sure I ain't never heard of, and we want to do a transaction, or you want to send me a super chat or super sticker, you could do that. But right now, I have to wait to actually get that money because YouTube has to package that super sticker into my, usual payment. Thanks to the world of digital assets, stablecoins, blockchain technology, now that super sticker can go directly to me. This changes the way money moves. And to bring it all back home to Stellar, if you're going to change the way money moves, you have to start with the wallet. I'm going to leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to pick up your DHN Crypto Starter Kit. Okay? It will be your dossier to the world of blockchain. As you can see here, it covers a lot of different concepts. It gives you a criteria to evaluate assets, 5 verticals of blockchain, the adoption model, news and analytics outlets. Listen, a lot of people will feed you fish in this space. I'm handing out fishing rods for the lows. All right. the lows. Also, check out Blockmaster, Fundamentals of Blockchain Technology, and the DHN 100. 100 assets, 100 utilities. So, with that, that's all I got for this episode, guys. Again, thanks for rocking with me throughout the hiatus. Listen, I had a graduation to deal with, kids' graduation from second grade to third grade, preschool to kindergarten. It was a whole lot, 3-year anniversary. Why? It was a lot on my head. But that's why I love y'all, because no matter what I go through, I know the DHN committee is gonna rock with me. So with that, y'all know what time it is. If that money is digital, so is the hustle.